Have you ever heard of a war that was over in less time than it takes to watch a movie? Not just a battle, but an entire war declared and concluded in under an hour. It sounds like something out of a comedy sketch, but on August 27, 1896, it really happened. This is the story of the Anglo-Zanzibar War, the shortest war in recorded history, a conflict that lasted a mere 38 minutes. To understand how a war could be so ridiculously short, we need to rewind a bit and look at the political landscape of late 19th century East Africa. Zanzibar, an island sultanate off the coast of what is now Tanzania, was a major hub for the spice and slave trades. Its strategic location made it a prize for competing European colonial powers, particularly Great Britain and Germany. For decades, Britain had been extending its influence over the region, effectively making Zanzibar a protectorate. This meant that while Zanzibar had its own sultan, he was expected to rule in a way that aligned with British interests. The British had a consul on the island who was, for all intents and purposes, the real power behind the throne. The arrangement was simple. The British would support a pro-British sultan, and in return the sultan would cooperate with their policies, most notably abolition of the lucrative slave trade, which was a major goal for the British Empire at the time. This delicate balance was maintained under Sultan Hamid bin Thiwani, who had been a reliable partner for the British since he came to power in 1893. He understood the deal and played by the rules. But on August 25, 1896, Sultan Hamid died suddenly. The official cause was never definitively established, but rumors of poisoning began to swirl almost immediately. Before the late Sultan was even buried, his cousin Khalid bin Bargash made his move. Khalid was decidedly not pro-British. He had previously attempted to claim the throne and was seen by the British as a troublemaker who might try to undo their anti-slavery efforts and assert Zanzibar's independence. Without consulting the British consul Basil Cave, Khalid seized the Sultan's palace, a grand wooden structure overlooking the harbor, and declared himself the new Sultan. He quickly gathered his supporters, amassing a force of about 2,800 men, mostly palace guards and civilian volunteers, arming them with whatever rifles and antique cannons they could find. He even took control of the Sultanate's small navy, which consisted of a single-armed yacht, the HHS Glasgow, a gift from Queen Victoria herself. Khalid was making a bold statement. He was in charge, and he wasn't going to be a British puppet. The British were not amused. This was a direct challenge to their authority. Basil Cave immediately sent a message to Khalid, telling him that his claim to the throne was illegitimate without British approval, and ordering him to stand down. Khalid, surrounded by his loyal followers and believing he had the strength to resist, refused. He barricaded himself inside the palace complex, raised the Sultan's red flag, and dared the British to do something about it. What Khalid didn't fully appreciate was the immense power imbalance. While he had nearly 3,000 men on land, the British had something far more potent floating in the harbor, the Royal Navy. Rear Admiral Harry Rawson, the commander of the British fleet at the Cape of Good Hope station, happened to have several modern warships nearby. He was ordered to resolve the situation. By the morning of August 27th, 5 British warships, 3 cruisers, and 2 gunboats were anchored in Zanzibar's harbor, their powerful guns aimed directly at the Sultan's palace. The fleet included the HMS Philomel, the HMS Raccoon, the HMS Sparrow, the HMS Thrush, and the flagship, the powerful cruiser HMS St. George. Combined, they represented overwhelming naval firepower against Khalid's antiquated defenses. Admiral Rawson sent Khalid a final ultimatum. He had until 9 a.m. to lower his flag, leave the palace, and surrender. If he did not comply, the Royal Navy would open fire. The message was clear and uncompromising. As the minutes ticked by, the tension in Zanzibar was palpable. The town's residents, sensing disaster, fled the waterfront. Foreign nationals sought refuge in their consulates. Inside the palace, Khalid and his men prepared for a fight, likely believing the British were bluffing or that they could withstand an attack. They had a few machine guns and some older cannons positioned to defend the palace, but it was a woefully inadequate defense against modern naval artillery. At 8 a.m., Khalid sent a reply to the British consul, stating that he had no intention of lowering his flag and did not believe the British would actually open fire. He was tragically mistaken. Admiral Rawson signaled back, "We do not want to open fire, but unless you do as you are told, we shall certainly do so." The deadline of 9 a.m. approached. The sailors on the British ships stood at their stations. The guns were loaded, and the gunners took their aim. On the shore, Khalid's flag continued to fly defiantly over the palace. The city held its breath. At exactly 9:02 a.m., with the ultimatum expired and the flag still flying, Admiral Rawson gave the order to fire. The first shell, fired from the HMS Raccoon, slammed into the palace. Within moments, all 5 British ships unleashed a devastating bombardment. The wooden palace, which was never designed to withstand a modern naval assault, began to crumble almost immediately. Shells tore through the walls, setting the structure ablaze. The Sultan's meager artillery tried to fire back, but their shots were wildly inaccurate and did little to no damage to the armored British ships. The lone Zanzibari ship, the HHS Glasgow, did attempt to engage the HMS St. George. It was a brave but futile gesture. The British cruiser returned fire, and the Glasgow was quickly sunk, its crew rescued by the British. The bombardment was swift, brutal, and incredibly one-sided. The palace was systematically torn apart by a constant hail of high-explosive shells. Fires raged through the complex, and the structure began to collapse. Khalid's forces, who had been so confident just an hour earlier, were thrown into chaos. They had no defense against this kind of overwhelming firepower. Realizing his cause was lost and his life was in danger, Sultan Khalid fled the palace through a back exit and sought asylum at the German consulate. His escape marked the effective end of any organized resistance. By 9:40 a.m., the bombardment stopped. The Sultan's flag, which had been flying from a flagpole on the palace, had been shot down. The palace itself was a smoldering, ruined wreck. The entire conflict, from the first shot to the last, had lasted just 38 minutes. The aftermath was stark. On the Zanzibari side, around 500 of Khalid's men were killed or wounded. The palace was destroyed, and the harbor was littered with the wreck of the Glasgow. On the British side, the casualties were minimal. One petty officer on the HMS Thrush was severely wounded but later recovered. Their ships were virtually unscathed. The shortest war in history was also one of the most lopsided. With Khalid gone, the British quickly installed their preferred candidate, Sultan Hamud bin Mohammed, on the throne. Hamud was cooperative, immediately reaffirming the British protectorate, and, most importantly, finalizing the abolition of slavery in Zanzibar, which was officially outlawed the following year. As for Khalid bin Barkash, he lived in exile under German protection in Dar es Salaam for several years before being captured by the British during World War I. He was eventually allowed to return to East Africa, where he died in Mombasa in 1927. The Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896 stands as a stark and almost absurd example of colonial-era power dynamics. It was a demonstration of overwhelming technological and military superiority, a brutal but effective message from the British Empire to anyone who might challenge its authority. In just 38 minutes, a defiant ruler was deposed, a palace was destroyed, and the course of a nation was irrevocably altered, securing its place in the history books for all the wrong reasons. What an incredible story, right? It just goes to show how history can be stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed this dive into one of history's most bizarre conflicts, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.